Apple of Her Eye by Miles Prower 06 and Ace 2401. Sweet Apple Acres, 1 week after the Fountain Memorial. Rainbow Dash slowly came to, laying in her bed in the guest room, or rather, her room, in the Apple family farmhouse on Sweet Apple Acres. "Rise and shine and up and at 'em, Rainbow Dash," Applejack cheerfully said, rousing the groggy former Pegasus. All she got in return at first was an annoyed moan as Gummy nibbled on her forelocks. "Who gets up this early?" she whined. "Well, if you want to help with the chores, this is the time of day that we get started." With that, Rainbow Dash bolted up in bed, the blankets nearly flying off. "Really? You mean it? I can finally help?" she said excitedly. "Yes, Rainbow. You've been quite patient these past few weeks, and I think you've recovered enough to the point when you're ready to learn about apple bucking," Applejack proclaimed. "Woohoo!" Rainbow leapt up in the air, coming back down on her bed and bouncing off to the floor, screeching to a halt with her face inches from AJ's. "So where do we start, huh?" "Well, first off, you're gonna need this," Applejack said, before plopping a brown cowpony hat on Rainbow's head, nearly identical to hers. "Make sure you keep this on your head while you're working, otherwise the sun will bake you to a crisp and you'll be overheated and worn out before the day's even half over," AJ instructed. "You got it. And before we get started, I'd say we both need a good breakfast, so come on out to the kitchen. Big Mac's got a hearty start to the day for us." And indeed he did. Eggs, fresh apples, and orange juice. "Better eat up, Rainbow. My sis is gonna work you good today." Don't be like that, Mac. He's just pulling your hoof, Rainbow. Listen, if you feel you need to take a break at all today, you just let me know, alright?" With that, the duo made their way out to the front porch. Rainbow adjusted her hat to block the slowly rising sun, and after AJ had gone and gotten an apple cart, they made their way to the closest apple orchard, whose trees were ripe for the bucking with big, juicy, red delicious apples. "Now, considering you've never done this before, I imagine you think it's as easy as walking up to a tree and giving it a kick. But you have to be careful," AJ instructed. She walked up to the first tree, turned her back, and gave it a solid whack from both hooves. Apples came falling down from the branches. "You've got to set the right distance. If you're too far away, you'll miss, and if you're too close for a full-force buck, you might pull a muscle or sprain something." After they'd gathered up the first tree's apples into the cart, they moved on to the next closest one. This time, it was Rainbow's turn. "Now, don't give it your all the first time. Do it slowly. Judge the distance from where your front hooves are and how far stretched you are when your back hooves hit the tree." Rainbow did as she was told, slowly leaning on her front hooves and stretching back with her rears, making small adjustments until AJ figured she had it right. "Alright, now it doesn't matter how long your hooves are on the tree. Just one good smack should do it. Go on and give it a try." Rainbow threw her weight onto her front legs and then shifted, bringing her back hooves down and back, and bucked the trunk of the apple tree, its branches shuddering in response. As a few apples fell to the grass, Rainbow was rewarded from her first bucking with an apple to the head. She giggled, thrilled that she'd managed to shake some apples loose on her first try. She repeated the kick a few times, and all the apples were down. "All right, I did it," Rainbow joyously announced. AJ chuckled. "Well, let's see how you feel after you do a couple dozen of these." And that's exactly what she did. 20 apple trees later, the cart AJ was pulling was full. "All right, you feel like pulling that to the apple cellar underneath the barn?" "Sure thing." Rainbow went to the front of the cart and got herself into the harness, already knowing what to do from her time helping Rarity haul gems from those underground caves, except that this was considerably heavier. But she managed nonetheless. Slowly she made her way to the apple cellar, which now had 2 entrances, a set of stairs and a longer inclined ramp, so the apple cart could now be wheeled down below. Unsure of her ability to go in forward and keep herself from getting rolled over by the cart, Rainbow positioned herself at the back of the cart at the door and backed it into the cellar, where there was a small pit dug in the center with a large wooden basket where a few cartfuls of apples already were. With the back of the apple cart at the pit, Rainbow got out of the harness, unlocked the back end of the cart, and gave it a tip. The 21 trees' worth of apples tumbled out into the basket, and afterwards she righted the cart and went back for more. Already she was feeling a bit of the strain. "Whew, the life of a farm pony," she commented to herself. And that was the routine for the first half of the day. By 2 o'clock, Rainbow, with a little bit of AJ's help, took 6 carts of apples to the cellar, where they waited to be cooked into all manner of treats and sweets and then loaded onto Applejack's apple stand for her market days in Ponyville. On her latest load to the barn, AJ met her outside. "All right, Rainbow, I'd say we earned ourselves a nice meal, wouldn't you say so?" "You bet. I'm starving." The two of them went into the farmhouse and soon were joined by Big Mac coming in from plowing, and they began making lunch. Daffodil and daisy sandwiches, hay fries, apple juice, and apple cobbler for dessert. During the meal, Rainbow sat across from AJ, and Big Macintosh and Granny Smith were on the adjacent sides. Applejack was finished before Rainbow. "All right, I'm going to pull another apple cart out so you and I can work on separate orchards afterwards. I'll see you out there," Applejack told her, as Asai and Pegasus was finishing with her cobbler. "I'd best be back to it, too," Big Mac said, swallowing his last bite of dessert, leaving only Rainbow and the elderly Granny Smith at the table. "You look like you got something on your mind, Sugar," Granny commented. "Really?" Rainbow asked, slowly nibbling at her cobbler. "It's rather obvious, what with the way you're looking at her." Rainbow's cheeks turned several shades redder. I don't know what you're getting at." "Honey, I may be old, but I'm certainly not dim. Maybe you don't know you're doing it, but your eyes were locked on her the whole time." Rainbow Dash gulped, looked like she was about to panic. I... Now, I don't want you fretting none. I didn't mean anything by it. If you have any feelings for AJ, that's your business. I won't judge you or her for whatever you two feel for each other. You've got to follow your heart. I've always figured love was a complicated thing." Rainbow sat there silently, not able to touch the rest of her dessert. There were far too many butterflies in her stomach now. "She doesn't know," Rainbow began, staring at her plate of crumbs and half-eaten cobbler. How do I tell her? I mean, how I feel." "You'll find a way. Don't worry. But when you figure out how to say it, how to tell her, you'd best do so. It's not something you want to keep bottled up inside, hon." With that, Granny left the table to go take a nap, leaving Rainbow alone, who slowly finished her cobbler. She was glad that Applejack had started another orchard by the time she got back outside. She figured that just looking at her right now would turn her into a bumbling mess. For the rest of the day, she couldn't focus her mind or heart on apple bucking. She couldn't, because they were focused on Applejack. That night, Sweet Apple Acres Lake. The moon glistened off the surface of the lake, distorted by the ripples as Rainbow swam in the cool night. Something had even been added in the past week. A simple dock had been built out close to the center of the lake, so she could do a little diving. Rainbow was so deep in thought, still confused about her supposed feelings for AJ, that she didn't hear the hoofsteps on the dock. What she did hear immediately afterward was an all-too-familiar farm pony yell, "Geronimo!" followed by a large splash right next to her, causing her to flutter and sink momentarily as she regained her composure, and looked over at a laughing Applejack. "Boy, I tell you, it's been quite a while since I've been in this swimming hole. It's quite refreshing, I'll give you that." Rainbow smiled nervously at her friend. "You did good today, Rainbow. I thought a swim would be nice, and I brought you some apple juice. Thought you might be thirsty." AJ motioned towards the dock. 2 bottles of apple juice with straws had been set on the edge. "Thanks, Applejack. I could use a drink." She swam over to the dock, climbed up, and sat on the edge, followed immediately by AJ. Together they sat there on the dock, sipping their apple juice. "Besides, it looks like you got something on your mind, Sugar Cube." Rainbow laughed at the irony. I guess that must run in the family." "What are you talking about?" "It's nothing, really. But, yeah, I have had something on my mind." Rainbow sat silently for a moment and made up her mind. "Yeah, I have been thinking. About you. A lot." About me? How come?" I can't really explain it. It's this feeling deep inside, and I can't deny it. You've done more for me than any other pony ever. You saved my life. You cared for me day and night, and I really, really appreciate that, Applejack. And I'm trying to figure out a way to show that appreciation." Applejack could see the flustered feelings Rainbow was having as she stared at her dripping wet friend. "Rainbow, Applejack didn't get to finish her sentence as Rainbow leaned over and her lips connected with Applejack's. The moment they touched, she felt as if a surge of warmth shot through her body, moving down her spine to the tips of her hooves and back again. She closed her eyes while AJ's eyes widened. Time seemed to slow to an inexorable crawl. The kiss seemed like forever, yet in reality only lasted 2 seconds. When Rainbow broke it and opened her eyes, staring into Applejack's, those beautiful apple green eyes. When Applejack's shocked expression didn't change in several seconds, Rainbow's expression changed from ecstatic to shocked and ashamed. I'm so sorry, AJ. Oh. Rainbow held back the tears as she got up and galloped back to the farmhouse, leaving a stunned Applejack alone on the dock. Farmhouse. 10 minutes later. Rainbow paced uneasily in the foyer at the farmhouse, tears running down her cheeks.
What was I thinking? Acting that fast? When I don't even know if Applejack shares these feelings. What if I just blew it? If she can't look at me again?
Rainbow's panicked thoughts were interrupted by the front door opening and Applejack came in.
Applejack,
Rainbow.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking.
Rainbow.
I like you a lot. I love you, AJ.
Applejack came up and placed the tip of her hoof on Rainbow's lips, silencing the gibbering Pegasus. They stared into each other's eyes, and AJ smiled at her friend. Now, I will admit, you caught me a bit by surprise there, Sugar. Maybe if you'd let me know about these feelings earlier, you wouldn't have shocked me all that much. Rainbow said nothing, tears still in her eyes. Now, that being said, Applejack said, before coming in close and kissing Rainbow again. They gently probed each other's mouths for those few precious seconds as the warmth wrapped around them. To Rainbow, it tasted like the sweetest, most succulent apple she'd ever had. To Applejack, it was every sweet and tangy fruit she'd ever tasted. Again, slightly longer than last time, the kiss broke, leaving Rainbow as the surprise pony this time. Let's see where this goes, all right, Sugar Cube? Rainbow, fighting through her daze and ecstasy, slowly nodded. Where do we go from here? Rainbow asked, wiping the tears from her eyes. Applejack came forward and gently pressed her forehead to Rainbow's. Stay with me tonight, she whispered. Rainbow's heart skipped a beat and then regained her composure once again and nodded. Together, the two best friends walked side by side, melting into each other, and retired to AJ's room for the night to see if that friendship could evolve into something more.